our series on Suicide Prevention Week. This is our suicide prevention series. And as we've said yesterday, we had the joy and the pleasure of speaking with Stan P. Collins of what was that organization, Venus? What was it, Directing Change CA that he was a part of? Okay.
Right, directingchange.org.
Directing Change CA.
CA.org.
That's right. And he gave us some wonderful kickoff information for this very important issue. And a big part of our campaign, as I mentioned yesterday, is really thinking about behavioral health services, sharing resources and information with the community, and especially during a time like this, exceptional time like this, it's important for us to get information out and very practical, real stories, real information. So I'm here joined with my campaign manager, Venus Johnson. Say hey, Venus.
Hi, everyone.
Yes, and I have the delight and the honor for the phenomenal, the incredible, the very beautiful, lovely, and talented Chantel Deniese joining me all the way from LA.
Hey, everybody.
Yes, so she is joining us virtually. And one of the visions I have for Oceanside is to align with it being a cultural arts destination. And because of my work that I have done really coast to coast, I have these amazing, talented artist friends like Chantel Deniese, who also have wonderful life experiences that they put in their music, that they put in their writing, that they put in various forms of art. And I really believe in using art as healing because it does tap into a part of ourselves. So I wanted to take a moment this week also in our campaign to share some music, because we could all use a little hope and some uplifting feelings. So that's why we decided to ask, and we thank Chantel Deniese for her time out of her very, very busy schedule for joining us. So Chantel, thank you.
You're welcome, Kelly.
So Chantel, you have some experiences getting back to behavioral health, and if you could shed some light on some of the things you've personally experienced with the topic of suicide, behavioral health concerns, and how you yourself as an artist move through when you feel those kinds of challenges come up for you.
Well, thank you so much, Kelly. And I just, first of all, let me say I appreciate you having me on here. I am so grateful and honored just to be able to share this space with you. So thank you, first of all. And I absolutely love what you're doing. And I, just to segue into this specific topic, you know, growing up, like when you're younger, sometimes we're all trying to figure ourselves out when we go through this life, where we're trying to decide who we're going to be, how we're going to do it. Does that mean I include my family in it, or is it just my thing? I think as a younger teenager, I literally tried to pursue kind of, doing my own thing, having it my own way. And of course, when you do that, you kind of like, you come through some barrier blocks. You hit some challenges in your life. So let's say I'm just like any other normal teen back then, and even today, I can relate to a lot of them today. But over the years, on my journey of just trying to claim life and do it my way, I got into, some challenges, some things where I got into some bad relationships. I started doing some things that were not as helpful for me. And then also just not really feeling, I don't think when I was younger, I ever actually really felt connected with family. Although I appreciated family, I didn't necessarily feel connected to family. So pursuing my own journey on my own was very easy for me because I did not feel connected. And it wasn't that I wasn't loved. It wasn't that I wasn't cared for. It wasn't that someone wasn't there. It's just that there was this hole and this longing trying to find myself, that I got myself involved in so many things. I think one of the things I could remember, probably about like 16 or 17, I was already in an abusive relationship. And so that shaped a lot of my mentality and my worth of who I wanted to be, and how I was going to do it. In a sense, it had changed, it had shifted, because I looked at myself as an unvaluable soul to the world. And even to my family, I could remember at about 18 years old taking, just sitting in my room going, I don't really understand this life, and I don't know what I want to do in it. Like, you have no purpose. I felt purposeless. I also sat there contemplating, like, if I decided to exit, would anybody care? Would anybody care? And I felt that deep down inside of me. Would anybody care? And I remember back then experimenting, like cutting my arm here and there, trying to get some kind of feeling, because remember, I'm feeling empty. I'm feeling like I'm not valuable. So I said, let me try to cut myself and see if I could at least feel something, some sense of comfort for myself. And I know that's kind of weird, but that is literally what I would do. And I did it more than once, and I think that it wasn't until I actually moved to California that I actually started to deal with that part of my life. And keep in mind that even in those times, I was always trying to be creative. I was in sports. I was singing for a long time. I was actually performing back then. I was modeling. I was actually doing a lot. And on the outside, it looked like I was a girl who had pretty much accomplished a lot and was doing a lot. But inside, there was this deep void. And so I think when I moved here, I actually started to really look at my creative space of writing, singing, acting. And I really am grateful, because it's those outlets that actually gave me a sense of, I actually am valuable, and I actually can do something with my life. I don't have to live in that feeling of not being purposeful or having a place for myself. And so I found a lot of my adventure in my creative space. And music really, really is healing. It really, really is. Art is healing. Acting is healing in many, many ways. And so a lot of the stories that I talk about, a lot of the songs that I write about, it's personal experiences. I think most artists probably write from that place, but some may use a different approach. But that's been my approach, and it's been very healing for me. I can't tell you how I can look back and look at some of the songs I wrote way back when and see that little girl crying out, way back then. And so I'm grateful to God that He's blessed me with some talent to actually live in, because that was my therapy for a long time. So that's a little bit of my story. If you want more, I can give you more. But I really am grateful for the opportunity to look back at my younger years and go into these years in my life and go, I'm actually an overcomer. I'm an overcomer. And, for anybody out there who's, struggling with that, talk to someone, find your place of therapy, find your place where you can actually express yourself, because it is so beautiful when you get to that place, when you choose to say, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep moving forward. And I think my whole mindset changed when I got here. My whole idea of how life is supposed to be changed, because I was on a different path now. And often, sometimes we don't realize, but we can choose a path. We don't have to live in the space where we feel lonely, where we feel empty, where we feel like there's no hope for us. We can choose a path. There is a path out there, and I'm grateful to God that He actually has guided me to that path. So it's been beautiful, and I'm still growing, and I'm still changing, and I'm still learning things about myself. You know, I even started this conversation with my own daughter because I didn't want her to have the journey that I had where there was no one to talk to, or I felt like there was no one to talk to, only because I felt that they didn't relate to me because they were older. But I have been just offering myself to my own daughter, that, hey, you know, I may be older, but I actually can relate. So give me the opportunity to connect with you. And I can't tell you, it's actually been beautiful. I haven't always, you know, my daughter and I, we are constantly working on our relationship, and it hasn't always been where it is today, and we're still growing. I have offered myself to try to connect with her because I remember that little girl who sat there purposeless. Um, and she's let me in. We actually do this conversation platform every 2 weeks, and we just go for it. We talk about topics of the world. We talk about life. We talk about relationships. We talk about, you know, even how to deal with our own emotions. And it's all just like we go for it live. She never really knows. I just started telling her the topic, like literally probably 3 weeks ago. I'm going to give you the topic of what we're going to talk about. But before then, it was just, we were just shooting from the hip and taking our chances on allowing this relationship to blossom in a way that we could never even imagine. I mean, there's been a lot of discovery about myself as a mom. There's been a lot of discovery with understanding my kid and seeing she has her own emotional journey too, and really trying to help her with tools on how to deal with it. And, you know, in California, there's so much more. I grew up in the country. I grew up in a little town called Brookshire, Texas. So we didn't have access to a lot. And then back then there was not a lot of technology at all. We really had none. We had basic, you know, you can get basic things, but not anything like what we have today. There was no Facebook and Instagram, none of that. So we had to rely on human connection and talk. And so what I've discovered, you know, even just having my relationship with my daughter, is that their outlet is these social media platforms, their telephones, their communication lines are broken because, you know, and I'm not saying that these platforms are not good, because they are good in many ways. It's really how you use them. And that's what she and I talk about all the time, you know, like keep your whole world being these platforms, because it takes away the human connection that we all need, and everyone needs community connection. And so we discovered that over our time with one another. And I'm like, my daughter really, she wants actually to be close to me. It's not that she doesn't, because when you're a teen, you know, we all like try to disassociate ourselves with our parents because, you know, we're leaning into womanhood. But she actually, I discovered she actually really wants me in that space, that place in her heart, that place in her life. And, you know, I didn't think that she did. So it was a great discovery to see as we did those conversations. Like, she really values my opinion. You know, she really wants that from me. So it's been beautiful, and it is still growing. And I am very grateful that we're at a place where we can move forward, helping her with her emotional journey, and then being vulnerable as a mom to say, hey, you know, I struggle with that too. I have that too. Sometimes I'm insecure. Sometimes I feel like I'm unloved, you know, but we don't have to sit in that feeling. Let's go be proactive about it, and let's communicate and talk about it. So it's been very, very, very good.
I like what you said about community connection, and also the connection with your daughter and being able to find creative ways. I think the one thing I tell people, it's the artists who are really going to change the world, because we have that out of the box thinking. And regards to the community connection, I want to commend you, Chantel, for staying connected. I know you did a concert virtually through another virtual streaming service, and finding creative ways to still pursue your art, and also the financial aspects of it. One of our platforms on our campaign is how to strategize helping our local businesses and workers, and helping those that have really most suffered. And I know that my independent contractor artist, which means that's your business. You all have been heavily impacted, and your vision and your creativity. Well, I'm looking at you right now, and dear God, you're still here and you're still working it. So I want to first say that I want to acknowledge you. And I know these are exceptional times and times of challenge, and then coupled with living together. And for some people, they say forced together as a family during these times, but you're a family. And I think that you having that platform that you have had with your daughter, you continue to have it for yourself. I just want to say, I see you, and I appreciate your journey. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Kellie.
And I will also let everyone know, Tony B's, the play that Chantel's been working on, it's certainly a must-see, and that I have seen the growth of that particular piece. And again, going back to Oceanside being a cultural arts destination, it is my hope that Oceanside will continue to be focused on the diversity and the range of productions. That it's not just Shakespeare, that's great. That's not just some of these other plays that have been done before. But if we keep doing the same things over and over, if we keep presenting the same material, and I love a lot of those plays, my focus on this campaign, well, one of the focuses is to make sure that we bring new energy, fresh ideas, new work locally, people who are connected to artists like yourself who are, all over this nation, and come to Oceanside and perform and share your stories and your journey. So that's also partly why I had you on, because I want everyone to know what a wonderful play you wrote, and who knows, might get in the noggin somewhere. I do want to ask, with your nitty grit, you have that on, is it on Instagram?
It's on Instagram. It's the Nitty, Nitty grit, GRIT.
And that is the one that you have with your daughter, and you talk about just all kinds of things. And I appreciate the creativity that maybe some parent out there, because first of all, I can't think of a more important job than it is to be a parent. I really, and
it's an underpaid job, Kellie.
And I know that, and especially now when when I first decided to run, and I was asking about the education of our children, and even though I have children that I share, none of which are in school, right now, except my granddaughter that I share, who's in an Oceanside public school. The navigation through that during a time like this, how are you doing?
Oh my gosh. We in our family, we have just tried to create a community connection, like that's consistent outside of what we were doing. So for example, we're taking family prayer walks on Sunday. We actually just started that. We're doing devotional on Saturdays. We've had game nights, where we're playing games on Saturday. When there's nothing to do, we create movie night. And before we were doing all that, when COVID first hit, I said, I gotta be productive here. I can't have these kids not do anything. So we started this thing called ancestral journaling. And that is where I pulled out the books of my ancestors, which my mom and my aunt put together, by the way, which they beautifully done. And my aunt actually keeps the ancestry.com online. But I have all these books of history and the year and the dates of our ancestors. And so I said, we're going to learn this stuff. I'm going to teach you these things so that they could actually appreciate American history. I feel like you got to start with your own history first before you can really appreciate it. So I have been doing that with them, and they'd have their own little journal, and then we'd read some of the documentation, and then I'd say, okay, take your notes because next week we're going to have review. Literally, Kelly, I tell you, when we would come back the following week, those girls know, oh, in 1854, my triple great, boom, 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 boom. They were absorbing that. And for me as a parent, I feel like I've contributed something more valuable to them that they'll ever appreciate, because we're in a time of COVID. We're in a time when we're close together. We got a lot of going on in our world, but we must not forget that we still must keep moving and doing something with our lives. We're not sitting still. And so that was really, I felt like as a parent, I can actually do this. Because sometimes I feel like, oh, this is a tough job. You know, I don't have all the answers. I don't know what to do in this situation. I've never had a almost 16-year-old before. You know, it's like everything is new. So you figure out how to work with the newness, how to roll and create with the newness. And I tell you, God has just given me the ideas, because I haven't known. I haven't known, but he's just blessed me with so many creative ideas, and they're working. They're really, really working. So that's how I've been doing it.
Well, I certainly appreciate it, and I know that having creatives on, I'm hoping that during this time with this Suicide Prevention Week, behavioral health, that maybe there might be someone out there that might be able to implement some of the things that you're doing. And I just want to say again, I see you, and I want to acknowledge that it's not an easy time, but you're in it and you're doing so many really, really incredible things. So thank you. And Venus, if you could also put on the chat line somewhere, the suicide hotline to make sure that we keep it poignant to the topic. And if there aren't any comments or anything, Venus, we're going to go into our musical section here to give some hope and some beauty at a time like this. Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. Will do.
Okay, good. So without further ado, we asked Chantel to bring a song or two to share, and for nothing else, I just want to add some beauty into the world. And like I said, I have these amazing, beautiful souls who have been touched by by God with their voice, with their I think you also have a ministry too, Chantel, if I'm not mistaken. Don't you have a ministry as well?
Yeah, well, my husband and I, we have a small community group of incredible, sold out Christians, lovers of God. And so we meet on Tuesdays, every Tuesday. Last month, my husband and I tag team where we co-did the lesson together. Mm-hmm. So that was beautiful. But this month, he's actually doing all of the lessons, and I'm just assisting him by setting up everything. But it's been beautiful. I mean, that work there is life-changing. Mm-hmm. And it's been a part of the fabric of who I am for a long time, and it's blessed me tremendously.
Well, I know that we definitely have community members. Whether you're a person of faith or not, music and art and movement are universal. So I want to welcome you all to just experience something very beautiful. Take a moment to just listen to this gifted woman's voice. And so, Chantel, without further ado, grace us with your musical presence.
Thank you, Kelly. So first, I want to just put this out there for you guys. I do not own the rights to this music that I'm about to sing, but I am hoping that you will enjoy it. Those of you who are out there struggling in your journey, may this song give you hope and lift you up. You're broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round, and you can't find the fighter, but I see it in you, and we go
walk it out and move mountains. We're gonna walk it out and move mountains. And I'll rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I will rise, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. I'll rise up, high like the waves. I'll rise up, in spite of the air. I will rise, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you. When the silence isn't quiet and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe, and I know you feel like dying, but I promise you we gon' take the world to his feet and move mountain, bring it to his feet and move mountains. And I'll rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up, rise unafraid. I will rise, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, 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 for you. All we need is hope. And for that we have each other. And for that we have each other. Oh, we will rise, and we will rise. Oh, 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up, in spite of the pain. I will rise 1,000 times again. And we'll rise up, high like the waves. We'll rise up, in spite of the pain. We will rise 1,000 times again. For you.
Chantel, I mean, I'm supposed to keep my composure. I'm supposed to do a whole lot of things, but you know, that touched me today. And I just want to say thank you so much for that. And you know, what an appropriate song for a time like this. I know it's not yours, it belongs to someone else. And I just want to thank you for your time, your talent, and your energy. And that may it also bless another person the way it has certainly blessed me for today.
Amen.
And how can, I know we're running out of time here, how can someone's like, oh my God, that woman can sing. How can someone reach you? How can they get in touch with you?
They can reach me at www.chanteldenise, and Denise is spelled DENIESE.com.
Again, that's ChantelDeniese.com. That's my website. If any of you, I'm just going to put this out there. If any of you feel like you want to talk or we can share stories, my email address is chanteldenise@gmail.com.
Thank you for sharing your personal story, your email address, your website, and for your beauty, because one thing about this campaign, I want to give practical substance, and your song gives that esoteric practical substance just to feel something hopeful and something beautiful during a time like this. So Chantel Deniese, be sure to check out the Nitty Grit as well on Instagram with her and her daughter. And I'm almost like, I don't want you to go, but I know that Venus and I have to go because we got other things to do today. What you've given me and what you've given to this space is something beautiful. And you know, I just love and adore you, sis. Thank you.
I love you too, sis. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you. So Facebook Live, this concludes our session this day, but come back tomorrow where you know who we're going to have tomorrow is Sydney. Wayne.
Yeah, ooh, we like Sydney, so I'm going to be watching that one.
So for more hope, for more stories, for how to move through, this is Suicide Prevention Week. This is talking about behavioral health. Be sure to seek out what you need during a time like this to feel that moment of hope and that moment of beauty. Thanks for joining us. And everyone, be sure to just find a chance to experience something beautiful today. Thank you.
Love you, Kelly.